Hi, I'm Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I'm here today with Rob Appell from Man Sewing. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Jenny. Thanks for having me out.
Oh, gosh, it's so fun to have you here.
Oh, I'm super excited for both Man Sewing and being here in your studio in Hamilton. This is just an exciting week for me.
So much fun. Now, most of you guys know that I have a lot of grandchildren. I actually have 21, and half of those are boys. Actually, the boys are the 21.
Nice.
They pulled together by one.
Nice.
The boys are ahead. And it's hard to come up with projects for boys.
Incredibly, isn't it?
And so I thought it would be fun to design a skateboard quilt. So Rob and I collaborated and we came up with this awesome project that you see behind us. So let's take a look at this quilt. So this is a fun quilt. We've designed a skateboard block for you. I love the colors. What do you think, Rob?
Well, first, my son was watching me. He's 11, and he was watching me put it together, and he loved both the shape of the skateboard coming together and the piecing, which is kind of hard to think it's going to happen, but he also loved the colors you chose, you know, and putting it together. So energy and piecing all come together in this one.
Absolutely, I think so too. And one of the fun things about this is because we've used a pre-cut, I don't actually have to stack 40 bolts on the counter. I just actually get to pick up one of these. So the fabric we've used for this project is Malka Dabrowski's Poems for Pebbles by Moda. And I mean, I think it really lends itself to this kind of a project.
Absolutely.
One of the cool things about this is that the block size we're going to use is half of this. So you actually, with one layer cake, are going to get 2 quilts this size.
Is that enough quilts for 21 grandchildren?
No, but it's enough for 2.
There you
enough
go.
for 2. That's all we need. You know, some ages of boys, you know, aren't going to love this, but some ages are going to love this. So it works out great.
And let's not forget, there are ladies that skateboard too.
Oh, that is, good point. Yeah. Good point. Now, I only did that once.
Right?
Skateboard, yeah.
Well, you know, my problem with skateboarding is I love the sport, but I don't like the, we'll call it the falling or the dismount.
You know, once you get to a certain age, you don't want to fall anymore.
That's right. It takes up too much of your quilting time.
Well, that's exactly right. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to need for this quilt.
Yeah, show me how you did this.
So to make this quilt, what you're going to need is 1 packet of 42 10-inch squares. You're going to need about 3 1/4 yards of white of the background fabric here, and you're going to need about 1/4 yard of black for the wheels.
Right.
So it's, you know, it's really manageable, and that's going to make 1 quilt. Plus, you're going to have another half of these ready for a secondary quilt. So let me show you how we did this.
Am I on your way here? You good?
Oh no, I'm good. So so first we're going to take a 10-inch square, one of our layer cake squares right here, and we're going to cut it right in half. And so I'm going to lay this on the 5-inch line right here and cut this in half. And then we'll have a 5 by 10-inch rectangle. We'll have 2 of them. One I'm going to set over here in a stack to use later. The other stack are going to be my skateboard blocks. So we decided to make the skateboard a block unit so that it would be easier for you. The first thing we're going to do with this unit is we are going to snowball the corners on this block.
Right.
So so how we're going to do that, what I actually want to show is when you have 42 blocks and you use a square on each corner, very quickly that amount adds up. And so all of a sudden we need 168 1.5-inch squares, which can be a little daunting.
Yes.
So I want to actually show how I do that because it just makes it so much easier. So this is my yardage here, and I have actually folded that in half. I do that for me because it's more manageable. You know, it just makes it easier. And so then I'm going to cut some 1.5-inch strips off of this. I always like to start with where I'm evening up the edge of my fabric just to make sure I have a nice clean edge. And then I'm going to cut some 1.5-inch strips. So let me just do that here. And we just got it. Well, I'll just give you a few. You can do this with as many as you want. And let me do one more.
I think she's addicted to the cutting already.
I don't mind cutting.
She can't stop.
All right, so now I have this little row right here of all these strips, and you can see they're individuals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these right around like this.
Nice.
And I'm going to line them up on the lines on my mat so they stay fairly straight, and I'm going to leave them folded. And then I'm just going to make sure these are straight on here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay my ruler on here, and I'm going to cut off the selvages and the fold off this end.
So you're cleaning up those edges.
Yep.
Got it.
You know, just push that off.
Yep.
And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move my ruler over 1.25 inches I mean, yeah, inch and a half,
Sure.
inch and a half, inch and a half.
Because you're making squares.
Inch and a half, inch and a half. I don't want to say inch and a quarter, I'm going to throw you off. So inch and a half. So we're making squares.
Right.
Inch and a half strips, inch and a half blocks. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and cut these and just leave our strips the same, scoot our ruler over, and so every time we make a cut, we get, you know, however many strips we have stacked
I'm going to throw out
up.
the word dozens.
Yeah, dozens. Dozens. So we just go ahead and cut those, and very quickly you're going to get all the squares you need, and you haven't had to work super hard. So we're going to take 4 of these now, and we are going to press them diagonally like this, so it gives us a sew line.
Okay, you want me to do that for you?
So sure, absolutely.
Okay,
So,
I'm not going to get your fingers out.
so let's do that to 4 of these.
Okay, uno.
Oh, we're even bilingual.
That's
this
right. 2.
morning. 2. The bilingual left at uno,
That's
I
right.
guess. All right. there we go.
Trace. And 4. That's a pretty one too. That one's really going to be fun for you.
Okay, so what we've done now by ironing these diagonally is it gives us a sew line. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put a square on all 4 corners and just snowball them. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine and do that. Take my squares with me. And I just like to start at one side, and I'm going to go corner to corner. So here we go. And then I just kind of lift it up, give it a pull, and I don't trim them until I'm all done.
That's nice and efficient that way.
It, you know, it just makes it easier. And then I'm just going to sew corner to corner on all these.
Are you worrying about starts and stop knots or anything like that? Or you know that when you put in your next series of strips, that's going to lock it all together?
I've always been under the, you know, I was a clothing sewer first.
Right.
And so when you sew clothing, you do worry about the starts and the stops
Sure.
and all that kind of stuff. But with quilting, every seam is enclosed in another seam.
I totally agree.
So I just, you know, I like to live a little dangerously, you know, so I just don't do the starts.
You got to
and
leave a
stops.
little something to chance.
don't do the starts and stops anymore. All right, so now we have this little block, and we've got, let me cut these threads here. There we go. And so then now what we're going to do with our snowball block is I'm just going to lay the ruler, come out about 1/4 inch from my stitch line, and I'm going to trim those on all 4 sides. So there we go. And 2 more over here. It doesn't have to be exact, we just want to trim out that bulk. And then what I want you to do, Rob, is I want you to go ahead and iron those back.
Okay, you got it.
All right.
Thank you.
So that's our block for the actual board. That's how that we make the actual board. Now we have to make the wheel set. Awesome. So now this is our full board. This is the block that is the board in the middle part.
We refer to that as the deck, actually.
The deck. This is the deck. So the deck is done. We've snowballed the corners and the deck is done.
But it's not going to roll that way.
No, not going to go very far.
So for the wheel set, when I first made my sample block, I always like to make a sample to kind of practice a little bit.
Right.
I did it in parts and pieces.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as
It's a lot of little
accurate,
pieces.
and we've got a lot of complete boards to put together.
It's a lot of pieces.
With the strips, we're going to strip piece these for the wheel sets.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So we started here with a 4-inch strip.
Okay, so that's our middle piece right here in between the wheels.
Perfect.
There we go.
Okay, and then we actually have 2 of the 2.5, so I'm just going to lay these out for you.
So 4, 2 2.5s.
Yeah,
And those make the wheels. The black makes the wheels right there.
Right, and then we're going to sandwich this in with a 1.5-inch strip out here. And my quick tip is I love sewing with solids. But when sewing with solids, every now and again I get a seam allowance that's in the wrong direction.
Right.
Because you don't have a print to work with to keep yourselves right sides together. So I will actually stack them up in my lap and just piece as I go.
Oh, okay.
So that it's all done before I come back and press.
Oh, okay. That
so
makes
that's just
sense.
one of the
That
ways
makes
that I
sense.
like to do it.
So what we're going to do is we just actually sew these together 1/4 inch, correct?
Correct. Yep. And then once they're all stitched together, I think we have a sample of that, don't we?
We do. We sure do.
Okay, let me get these out of the way.
So we sewed together this strip set right here. And this is going to be our wheel set. And you can see here that not all strip sets are created equal.
Oh, I don't even want to know why that is.
I don't either. I don't even know why that is either. But this makes our strip set. And so when we cut these, that's going to give us the whole wheel set on the block, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Ah, love it. So that's way faster than doing all these tiny little pieces.
Right. And this is what it looks like here when it's all sliced. Is that
A lot
true?
more accurately.
Yep.
Yeah. So can I cut this right here?
Yeah, do it up.
All right. So I'm just going to even this up. This is going to give us an even starting spot right here. And I just want to show, how easy this is to get this whole set, because this is a great way. If you need a lot of little pieces on the side, just, make it even and sew them together, and you get these little pieces like this that actually fit perfectly along the side of your deck.
Very well said. Oh, I like that.
And then we're just gonna stitch those on. So that was a great idea with the wheels.
Oh, and it was so efficient and time saving. I was gonna go nuts trying it putting on one wheel at a time.
Well, and when you read a pattern, honestly, it's horrible to see that you need 8,765, of anything.
Exactly.
And so when you can say, the strip sets, really, for this whole thing, you just need 2 strip sets.
Right.
Because you're gonna get 27 of these out of each strip set.
Right, and we need 2 for each board.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, what's next?
So now we just have to sew them on. That makes our block, right?
Pretty much easy, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take one of each of these, and I'm gonna go to the sewing machine, and I'm gonna sew them on, put them like this, right sides together, and we're just gonna sew them down. And it's really fun because it goes together really quickly. All right, here we go. And then I'm just going to, I'm putting my, my wheel set on top so that I can have a little better control because it's a small piece.
Meaning that you like the bulk of your fabric from the deck on the bottom against your feed dogs.
I do.
Yeah.
Unless I'm sewing on borders or sashing.
Right. Well, I'm a bit of a sewing machine snob when it comes to some of those
Let me have
things.
another one of those.
Yeah, here you go.
We can't have just wheels on one side.
No, they certainly don't roll that way.
They don't. All right, here we go. One more side. Anyway, you were saying?
Well, I was saying I'm a bit of a sewing machine snob, and I utilize the parts and pieces of the machine to my advantage, and I would have done the exact same thing. I like that a lot. But I want to know if the construction of this skateboard block was easier or more difficult than the construction of the half pipe on your front porch when you first moved to Missouri that I heard about. Apparently, some of those boys in your family like to skateboard as well.
They did. They loved to skate. When we moved in from the farm, they didn't know what they were going to do. So they built a half pipe, and we had this beautiful Victorian house with a wraparound porch. And we put a half pipe at the end of it, and the boys would skate around that side and go up that half pipe. And at one point, the town doctor came by, and he looks at me and he says, "I cannot believe you let those ragamuffin children put a half pipe on your beautiful Victorian porch."
Yeah, but then didn't he put like a stack of brochures and some pre-op forms to fill out for job security?
He actually didn't. He was just like, you've made this house so beautiful, and you put a half pipe on it. And you know what I told him was that my husband and I were going to sit alone on that porch for probably 40 years.
That's right.
And we only had these boys for a couple of more. And if they wanted to skateboard on that porch, it was okay with me.
I love it. You want me to press that for you?
Yeah, could you press that out?
You got it.
Now on the, when we pressed on the strip set, what I kind of did back here was I pressed toward the darks so that, if you have a light fabric, your white, it really wouldn't show.
Right.
And so then they kind of lay together nicely. And then on this one, we just pressed them out.
Yep.
And there is our completed skate board.
Correct.
How come you don't say skate deck then?
Well, the deck is a part. The board is the entire tool.
All right, so here's our skateboard
vehicle, whatever
block.
we want to call it.
So you're going to do that to all 42 of your pieces. You're going to snowball them. You're going to attach the wheels.
Couldn't be easy.
And then we're ready to assemble the quilt.
Right.
So what I like to do, again, because I like the mentality of chain piecing.
Yes.
I am a like an assembly line sewer. So
Henry Ford would be proud of you.
I do all my blocks. I snowball all my blocks. I do all the wheels. I do everything one at a time once I've finished one block.
Right.
And so the sashing is the same for me. So what I'm going to do is my sashings are all 2.5 inches.
Correct.
So I'm going to cut a 2.5 inch strip here.
So all of this is really pre-cut friendly, even with the strips and stuff you're doing.
Totally pre-cut friendly.
I love it.
And so now I have this 2.5 inch strip, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my board on here, and I'm going to sew down, and I'm going to add another board, and add another board, and add another board. Okay, so I've sewn these boards onto this 2.5 inch strip, and we've cut them apart.
Beautiful.
And so now what we have is the board with the flap, and we're just going to lay those side by side. And as we sew those together, that gives us our long rows.
Very nice.
So right here, we have 7 in a row up here on the top.
Right.
And they're all sashed, and the sashing is at the end.
Right there. And then we came back in with another 2.5 inch strip here, and we sashed that between the rows. And then on the end over here where the flap wasn't, we did the exact same thing.
That's exactly right. And it just makes a beautiful little project.
Yeah.
A beautiful little
quick and easy too.
Rob, it's been so great having you.
Well, thank you very much.
You know, I heard you're a bit of a show-off.
Well, that's true, and so I brought a little something to show.
Awesome.
I got inspired while making our
my
skateboard
gosh.
blocks, but I'm an applique
Those
dude.
are so cute.
Thank you. So I made a couple little applique skateboards that I've brought.
How cute is
and I made
that?
these ones three-dimensional, so you could see
Oh my
both
gosh,
sides,
you even
tracks,
applique
wheels.
the back.
I did.
That is so cool. And
Thank you.
those wheels look familiar.
Well, these are the old Kryptonic wheels that we grew up on. That was the big burst
He grew
into
up on,
skateboarding.
not me. I had the
She doesn't
key
want
with
you
the
to
metal
know.
wheels, you know.
That's
what
right.
I
The 2x4.
There we go.
And there you go.
Well, anyway, it's been great. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the skateboard quilt from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Hi, I'm Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and here at Missouri Star we are starting a new project called Man Sewing. And Rob Appell, Rob, you're the face of that thing. Tell us about it.
Oh man, I am so excited to be doing this. And you know, it's funny, when we talk about the term man sewing, none of us really know what it is. I guess I'm just a man doing some sewing, but
There
I'll be
you
doing
go.
quilting, home decor, stuff for kids. I got a guitar strap I'm excited about, and a lot of art quilts like those little applique skateboards I showed you when we did the skateboard block quilt as well.
That is awesome. So be sure and roll on over and check it out. You're going to want to subscribe. You're not going to want to miss a single thing. So check out Rob Appell with Man Sewing.